Hello, everybody. How are you doing? It's been a while since we've done one of these, and coincidentally, perfect timing too. I know it's strange given the recent announcement and everything, but yeah, I am back once again with my best friend Phil, and we're
Everyone.
taking the opportunity of basically the kind of slow but steady transition away from physical media into more solely of a digital kind. And this is something that has been going on for quite a while. So it's not exactly new, but I think especially with some of the recent developments, it's kind of made it more apparent.
Mhm.
So, you want to kind of kick things off, Phil?
Sure. So I'd say that there's been a more, I guess, how do you say, like a more rapid acceleration towards moving from like a physical media source to digital. Because like with us growing up there, everything used to be physical cartridge, like the N64 games, PlayStation. I mean, even further than that, the NES, SNES. It was always a physical cartridge. You had nowhere else to go, or to anywhere else really to get those games other than having the physical cartridge. I
Yeah, I
think with
think the
the
closest thing we had to like a digital subscription service, and even then it wasn't exactly digital, is the second channel. It
yes,
was kind
yep,
of
Sega
basically
Channel's
it was
first one.
basically a video game equivalent of a cable box.
Hmm. Yeah, and then so I think I guess the transition seemed to happen around the time of like, and I could be wrong with this part, but it was either around the Xbox, the original, or the Wii. I'm not sure which one had like the first digital storefront, but
Um,
I
I
feel like
think
it was the
we
Wii.
we came out first.
Hmm.
In fact, I think it had Wi-Fi first.
Hmm.
Uh, so it might have been the Wii, but it was close either between Wii and Xbox 360.
Hmm.
And then I think PlayStation Network and Steam followed not too long after that.
Right.
And then, well, basically, I guess the rest is kind of history at this point.
Hmm. Yep. And what was cool, I guess, with the Wii is that it brought all those older classic games along, like basically along for the ride. So it created a storefront with every like, well, not everything, but most of the classics prior to that. It kind of brought them along. Um, and so I think that kind of leads into like today's news of closing the 3DS store and the Wii U digital storefront, and kind of well not only closing those, but saying like we're also going to cut off um, future sales of those older games in the way by not like providing us a way to buy those going forward. So it's kind of like killing off all those prior games in a sense without
Yeah,
having a way to really purchase them other than I mean there's emulators, but it can't really can't really promote emulators in a sense, but really there's no way for like digital preservation of games. It's kind of like ending if they don't allow us a way to like legally purchase all of them. There's the secondhand market of buying like used games, but in a digital sense, we don't really have that option.
yeah. So yeah, for the longest time, basically a lot of older games kind of found extended life through various forms of resale.
Hmm.
And as things kind of rely more and more digitally, the resale market has can't really adapt well to that for kind of
Right.
a multitude of reasons.
Hmm.
I guess the first point is that, and this is something that has always kind of been a problem, but is even more so of a problem nowadays, is that the resale market is can get out of whack at sometimes because,
Hmm.
especially when there's a specific demand for something, the asking price can go through the roof,
Mhm.
Um, where while as when there's not really a demand for something, there's usually a good reason. Either the game itself isn't that good, or namely, there's not really a good means of way of playing it anymore. Usually, in
Right.
terms of something that requires a specific service, or even just kind of like online services. So that's what kind of makes it um, kind of a tricky room to maneuver, because not only are you basically trying to pay stuff at a premium depending on what you're looking for, but you're also hoping that it's in good enough condition and it works, and you have a
Mhm.
system that can also work as well.
Yep.
And it even in some cases a means of like saving data that also works.
Mhm.
So that's
And
a
even
lot
a
of
controller too
yeah,
nowadays
even the
too.
controller that works too. So yeah,
Yep.
that's a lot of pieces uh, to kind of consider
Ooh,
just from that.
can I give a really
Um,
quick example of that too?
yeah.
So I was trying to find a copy of Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Uh,
Okay.
and I think I hope I don't know if you played it or if any of the viewers have played it too, but it's a very classic fighting game, 3-on-3 action, and um, I actually had the game a long time ago for the PS2. I sold it while I was going. Actually, before I went to Nepal, I sold it, and so then I was saying, well, let me try to find another copy of it. All the copies I saw were, 150, $200 now. However, I saw one copy. I said, "Oh, let me go, buy that one," and disc only. And so I thought, "Oh, $70, not bad. That's the lowest price I've seen it." Read the fine print and said, "Oh, by the way, there's a crack in the disc. If you could fix it, good. But if not, you know, yeah." I was like, $70 for a cracked game disc,
Yep. That's
and that's just how insane the market has gotten for some of those older games that don't have a means of being reproduced. Because people have been, there's actually a campaign now, like for bringing Marvel back um, for the new generation games of consoles. Well, I don't know, probably the Nintendo Switch as well, hopefully, but at least the PS5 and the Xbox Series. But um,
yeah, because
it's
it's
getting
not even on
traction.
digital storefronts anymore. It used to be
Right, and
on there.
it used to be on the I guess on the PS2, the Xbox original, and then they moved it over to the PS3 and the Xbox 360, but then they stopped selling it digitally, and the only way to buy it was physically.
Yeah. Yeah, and even with, cabinets like Arcade One Up,
Mhm.
I think they've only been able to do like the X-Men versus Street Fighter and the first Marvel versus Capcom.
Yep.
So yeah, they for whatever reason, due to some sort of licensing reasons or something like that, they haven't even been able to add Marvel versus Capcom 2.
Mhm.
So yeah, I honestly do not understand why that one in particular, because you could still get 3 just fine.
Yep.
And again, through various means, you can also get the first one just fine, and well,
Yep.
you could also get Infinite, but no one wants that one. um, but yeah, it's like two has been like the massive, kind of the massive mess
Mhm.
that
And it
you
seems
know.
like the one that would have the biggest audience if they brought it back because like I see like people used to have a ton of tournaments for it. I see like content on YouTube a bunch of like Justin Wong and like the best like some of the best fighting game players of all time actually still playing the game and learning new techniques in it. And it's a shame that they don't like digitally bring it back at the very least if they're not going to do a physical version, or even like reproduce the digital copy that they already created back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the thing. Especially with and it's not solely a video game thing. It's just kind of the most apparent with video games is that it's basically at the whim of the provider.
Hmm.
So um yeah, unfortunately, it's basically if the publisher or developer feels like selling it, if they're able to provide it, um and have it working, because even when they are interested in bringing something over, it doesn't work as originally intended. We've already had a few cases of various remakes and remasters go kind of by the wayside. Thanks for joining us, Alicornia. Hope you're having a good evening. But yeah,
I love the little emoji, by the way, too. That's really cool.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just basically kind of where we're at. And even if something is made available at any point in time, they could just decided not to make it available anymore. Whether it be a specific game or a storefront. And this is not just Nintendo with the 3DS and Wii U. Apple has done it, Steam has done it, Sony has done it. In fact, it wasn't too long ago where people were freaking out about, the PS3 and the PS Vita stores going away. And, people managed to convince them to keep those up for the time being, but the PSP is gone for good. Regardless.
Which I was very sad about because I still have my PSP.
Yeah, but it just goes to show, like, the more that we rely on subscriptions and, digital only services, you also kind of wonder how long can we, hang on to these, that we invested, time and money into, It used to be just kind of a problem only with like MMOs and stuff like that, but now it's just with everything. Like at any point in time, like either parts of a game or even an entire game can just suddenly not be accessible anymore. And yeah, it's like, even though we can't, completely endorse it, a lot of people have turned to emulation as the only option to play certain games. And that is a spam message. Yeah. I am gonna quickly get rid of that. Is there any way that I can delete that? Yeah, I blocked it. So yeah, it's a spammer. So wanted to get our attention. So easily took care of that.
All right. Yeah. I guess a quick comment there related to I guess games kind of disappearing. A lot of times it's if it's an individual game, a lot of times it's either due to rights, licenses, or oddly enough, music or in-game licenses for actual items. And for example, I know like a few Need for Speed games were actually delisted.
Because I think the licenses for like various promotions and media ran out, which makes sense.
Actually, the original, like for some of the cars, they actually had to do licenses for like Aston Martin and Lamborghini. Yeah.
And those can cost quite a bit, and sometimes it's not worth it. Which I get it. I get it that a lot of this stuff, requires servers and they require maintenance, and sometimes it's not worth it anymore if there isn't a lot of people playing on them. In the case of, right now, a lot of people are playing on their Switches, their PlayStation 4s and 5s, their Xbox One, Series X, as well as playing games on, say, like a Windows 10 or 11 computer. As much as it would be nice to still have the older stuff, sometimes it's not feasible. But it just kind of makes it suck, and even all the more when you want to revisit something, especially if you have a particular nostalgia towards something and it hasn't been able to keep up with the times, for one reason or another, and then all of a sudden you can't access something. And I think that's a growing problem nowadays, because at least with stuff like, movies and TV shows and stuff like that, there's at least some way to have some form of preservation, because you're basically preserving a broadcast, or you're preserving, basically a media file, with specific copy protections, of course. But you are nonetheless, basically able to access it, provided that, again, the the company in question is willing to have it, within the listings, which they
Right.
can just up and change anytime they want, unfortunately. But I
And I
think
think oh,
games in particular,
mhm,
um, and even in terms of just general software, they have this added element in regards to programming and stability
mhm,
to consider, because just because it's stable during like the Windows XP or the Windows 7 days doesn't mean it's stable in the Windows 10 and 11 days. The same thing
true.
can be said when it's jumping consoles. Stuff that works on the GameCube and the Wii. All of a sudden, might not work on a PC or Switch or
Mhm,
PlayStation or an Xbox.
right.
And that is rather unfortunate, especially if the developer in question was not able to, or wasn't really all that interested into taking the time and care that is needed in order to kind of properly transition a title into the modern, an older title into the modern era. And that
Mhm,
even counts for like basic emulation too, as we
right.
have seen in the early, N64, uh, uh, early N64 titles for the Nintendo Switch Online. Because as far as what I've heard is that it was basically set up to basically reference the emulations from the Wii U. So it's basically an emulation referring an emulation referring ports of
Mhm,
older games.
right.
So something eventually had to kind of give there. Just like you know, when certain games, keep getting ported over and over again. There's kind of a sense of a bit of a depreciation. Like at some point the code's kind of got to give.
Mhm.
Um
Oh.
thank you for following my Twitch channel. Ginga Man Prime. Hope I'm
Uh-huh.
pronouncing that correctly. I think. Um
Very cool.
Glad to have you with us.
And welcome from Twitch too.
Yeah. Yep. Um so
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's just basically kind of an uphill battle on top of an up kind of a it's basically a slope on top of a slope on top of a slope on top of a slope.
Mhm.
And I understand that it is certainly not an easy um position on the developer and publisher end as well. It's just frustrating when they all of a sudden take stuff away and kind of give us the bare minimum in terms of explanations, as well as the fact that they also don't immediately disclose how they're planning to keep these games afloat in the future.
Exactly.
And I
Yep.
get that they probably want the surprise announcement factor, but that kind of gets ruined a bit when you have this old way of playing a game,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden it's not available anymore. Um,
Right.
or something that you've been kind of needing to purchase, but you've been putting off, and now all of a sudden you're pressured to purchase that at an inopportune time, um, because a storefront's closing. Like
Mhm.
I actually, when I heard that, I basically kind of immediately panic bought like $100 worth of virtual console content for both the
Mhm.
3DS and Wii U, and I'm honestly thinking of kind of doing it in waves just so I can at least get something still left on it, because I felt like I kind of missed out when all of the WiiWare stuff was being taken
Yeah.
down. So I didn't want to repeat that. And even then, that's not even a guarantee, because something that I realized as I was booting up my old 3DS is that for some odd reason,
Mhm.
it does not want to properly load up downloadable titles specifically for the 3DS. The 3DS
Hmm.
downloadable titles suddenly don't want to.
Ones
It's
that you've
like,
had before, or
yeah, exactly.
oh wow.
So it didn't matter which one I picked either. Like I thought it was just a case of turning titles. Nope, it was all of them.
Hmm.
So basically, physical games work and virtual console games work. But if I want to have a digital copy of something made for the 3DS, well, tough luck. Sucks to be me.
Wow.
And again, it's like, I know we can't condone emulation by any means, but I also cannot blame people for wanting to turn to it when it comes to situations like this, especially if they can get something working and it's still readily available, because the company in question has not made their services readily available, especially when they kind of pull the rug out from under you. It's like
Right.
the best way to combat piracy is to be a better service. It's just sometimes companies, for whatever reason, either can't or won't be a better service, or they think they're being a better service, but in actuality, they aren't.
That
As
actually
we've kind of
reminds
seen as we've seen kind of in quite a few cases, especially in regards for like every company wants to do like the whole NFT and blockchain. A lot has kind of happened with that since we had our last discussion on that. Not in a good way
Unfortunately, I was gonna say real quick with the I guess when you mentioned about like having a source to actually buy the games from as well, and like people turning to emulation, I guess the downside also is that a lot of people would prefer to get it like directly from Nintendo, because
or just any provider in general.
right, because I was thinking even like with the do you remember when the the Super Mario 3D All Stars collection came out?
Yeah, and they kind of made it limited only, available for a limited time only. Even though I still find physical copies in plenty of stores, actually, which is interesting. I was not expecting that. Like, I'm still finding physical copies of Super Mario 3D All Stars in like multiple stores near me.
Yeah.
Be it Best Buy or Target or GameStop or what have you. So that that's kind of interesting that it's still available physically and not digitally. And
did you hear about
they
also
pulled that crap with Super Mario Brothers 35, as well as the overdue localization of the first Fire Emblem game. Directly translated the NES copy directly translated for the first time, and they made that a limited release. It's like, thanks for nothing. You could have just easily placed that in the NES Nintendo Switch Online, but not only you didn't do that, but you also made it like an exclusivity, limited time purchase.
And did you hear the controversy with the game too?
I mean, aside from its limited release.
Yep.
You'll have
it's
to
a surprising one, actually. So, if believe it or not, individuals found that with the I guess with the version that was Super Mario Sunshine specifically, it seemed
you're talking about 3D All Stars.
Yeah. So for 3D All Stars.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I kind of ended on the old Fire Emblem, so I kind of.
Oh yeah. Sorry. with the 3D All Stars one, the controversy was actually that it seemed that Nintendo themselves pulled one of the games from an emulator, and the way they could tell that kind of was with so in the emulated version of the game, there were these blocks that would appear, and
oh yeah, I've heard about that.
Heard that?
And they forgot to get rid of them, and they had to take care of that in an update. Yeah, I have heard about that actually.
And showing in those appearing, it actually showed that it was still an emulated version, which meant that they took an emulated pre-made emulated version and just ported it over.
They've actually not just Nintendo. A lot of companies have been kind of using the emulators that we kind of take advantage of when we can't access a game, or even for people that just simply don't want to play for a game. It's like, they are actually taking advantage of that, because I think during the Giga Leak, it actually kind of was revealed that for a lot of their Game Boy and Game Boy Advance titles, they were actually using Visual Boy Advance for that. If I remember correctly, I mean I can't I think it was just something that I randomly saw. I wasn't even sure it was an official source or not. It was a Twitter post. So that's to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. Um, but yeah, if that's given that they kind of were caught taking Super Mario Sunshine from an emulator, it surprised me at the very least.
And what's the biggest example of a company basically using an emulated product and calling it their own and selling it? It's a surprising one. Ready?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep. It's the Sony PlayStation Classic. Yeah, they did that. They did that too.
I had to get it because I love the small size of this one. I actually have.
Yeah, it's pretty much a novelty item. Not only that, it's like that's like one of the few mini consoles that you can find. Good luck trying to find an NES or Super NES.
Oh, of these? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, good luck trying to find an NES or Super NES. They pretty much didn't make any of those available at all.
Oh yeah. Because with those, the SNES Classics and the NES Classics are harder to find than the during the launch period of those. But yeah, that was the one that, so compared to Nintendo, and Nintendo might have done it too, but they were probably a lot better at hiding it. But with the PlayStation 1, people found out like it literally was an emulated product that they could easily, like, hackers actually were able to hack it and say, oh, this is so easy to actually go into and just use like a PC, like not PC, but like similar to the PC version of that emulator. It was like the same, like the same build.
So basically, they can like hack into that PlayStation Classic and put whatever they want on it.
Yep.
So basically, it's basically kind of predating kind of what the Atari VCS offers as an actual feature.
Yeah.
Well, more or less. I mean, they didn't outright quote unquote offer it, but people pretty much it's like, yeah, I can put like say Windows or SteamOS and put like a bunch of emulators on there or something.
Yeah, they actually ended up using that almost very similar to actual like a physical PC itself. And they did, I saw a couple of videos on YouTube where they put like full, like the normal, like PlayStation emulators. I think they went up pretty high, like the amount they could get on there, up to maybe Dreamcast or so.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was pretty powerful. Well, a pretty powerful device for, well, I guess not really compared to the price that it actually is now, but. Oh, yep. I even heard that they were making the Xbox Series S, basically like an emulator machine.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Quick downloads. I mean, not quick downloads. Quick, I guess, a quick ability to actually like upload the games and
upload games and access your library.
Yep.
Well, yeah. I mean, in a way, the Steam Deck kind of fits that kind of build too.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit, which it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. But again, it kind of goes more into the fact that with everything becoming very digital focused, because a good amount of games are digital release only on storefronts. We have now the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series have digital versions of their consoles. We even have some other stuff like the Atari VCS, digital only. Steam Deck's going to be digital only. They're basically, and actually, computers and laptops are also digital only for the most part, unless if you really want to stick a USB CD drive, CD-DVD drive, or Blu-ray player in there. But even then, it's like you're pretty much, your best bet is to download stuff, through digital storefronts on there anyway. It is definitely interesting considering that, we went from just having those kind of like the physical discs and whatever sort of memory that they can either directly put in the game itself or via memory cards. And now everything is reliant on an internet connection and basically either a hard drive or an SD card or micro SD, depending on Well, okay, and solid state. Yeah, I can't forget solid state.
Solid state, yep.
A lot of them have been liking the solid state drives as of late.
And hopefully not the proprietary solid state. That's the only thing with like the Xbox Series is that
No, a lot of them do like the proprietary solid state drives, unfortunately. So. Yeah,
similar to the PS Vita also.
Yeah, PS Vita that have had their proprietary SD cards that had less space, they cost more, and it's like, and it's not like the PSP when it's like, oh, you had to specifically get a memory stick duo. No, it's an SD card, but you have to use the one that says PlayStation, which I'm not sure if it's the same thing regarding Nintendo Switch micro SDs, although I think they're priced the same as
no.
Oh, they're more?
Switch ones? Yeah, the Switch ones have the Switch Premium.
Oh.
Like
yeah, I guess that's not really much better, except you could actually get decent space for those. You can get 60.
Well, theirs is made
200
specifically
gig and 400
for the speeds.
Okay, yeah.
Of transfer. Now there are some memory cards that can like do the exact same speed, but I
kind of have to do your own research and kind of trial and error a bit.
Exactly.
Which isn't too different from just shopping around for an SD or micro SD to use for like a camera or something.
Oh, sorry. Matt, it kind of cut out.
Sorry. It's not too different from getting a micro SD or SD for a camera or something like that.
Oh, sorry, cut off again.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Hold on.
It kind of did like a wave.
Here, let me kind of fix that a little.
Oh.
Does that sound better?
Yep.
Okay, I probably had to take the
sorry.
echo kit.
Went out again a little bit.
Really? That's weird.
It's back up now.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I had it connected. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to kind of listen to it and kind of see what's up. So yeah, as I was saying before, it's not really all too different from, shopping around for a micro SD or SD card for use for, like, say, a camera or something. Or like any other devices that's important.
It's really cutting out there, Matt. Sorry.
Okay, are you? Ah, man. Let's see.
Because the music's going, like I can hear the music. It was like it just kind of like goes in like a wave.
Here, give me a moment. I'm gonna mute.
I guess, am I coming through still?
Let me just double check settings real quick. Yeah, everything's set up all right, and I went to the app and it was pretty good. So I am not sure what is going on.
Still. Hey Matt, can you pull it maybe closer to your mouth there?
This is not actually the mic. The mic is actually here. It's the Blue Yeti Nano. This is just for appearances.
Gotcha.
So, you still...
Is the Yeti I guess
It's
how close is
on.
it to your computer?
It's pretty close. Like, it's not too far from my camera, actually. It should
Mhm.
still pick me up just fine because when I
It's picking up
stream,
now. Are you closer to it now or
I mean, do I have to be this close to it?
uh
Because
it was going
because
through really clear.
because when I test it, when I do OBS streams, it often comes just fine. So I'm not sure if it's something on StreamYard or not. I turned echo cancellation off, so should be better. But let's try to continue on with the conversation anyway, and hopefully things will kind of improve a little bit. So, oh, now I gotta figure out where we were.
Oh, we're talking about so we just talked about the
We just talked about SD cards,
SD, yeah.
and it was kind of following up like how everything is kind of relying on hard drives and external media, as opposed to being able to save directly on the hardware itself. And actually, kind of going into that, while cloud backups can kind of mitigate that a little bit, that can also come with its own caveats as well, especially if you're able to pay subscription services in order to keep and maintain those said cloud backups. Am I coming through okay?
Oh, it was cutting out, so I was trying to turn it up a little bit louder too to see if that worked. See. Okay, I think okay. Sorry, you can continue there.
Okay. So basically, uh so basically, cloud services can mitigate that. That really depends on if you're able to continuously pay for the subscription in regards to those cloud services. And that can range from anything from gaming to basic personal file backup. So,
Oh, I think I figured it out there.
oh, is it something on your end?
It might be. So I mean, we could check back on the audio, like I guess later, but it might be. So I'm using my other MacBook, and it has sometimes the graphics can't keep up, so you were freezing a little bit, and so that might have been causing some
Because
of the
I was gonna say
yeah.
things are kind of going smoothly on my end. I wasn't
Mhm.
sure. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure how things eventually kind of came out in the
Because in
stream.
the future I'll be using this, my Mac Mini. I just don't have a
Ooh, nice! You just got it.
yep. So sorry. So this isn't like a new one, but it still has the 16 gigs of RAM.
Okay, yeah,
This was
that definitely will be better, especially when you plug it up to a monitor.
yeah, because this is a new. So it's not like brand new. It's like I think it has 2013 maybe. No,
I
not
mean, that's
yeah.
not bad.
Oh yeah. Plus it has enough memory and enough like it has a little bit more upgrades on the inside where it runs everything really smooth.
All right, that's nice. That's nice.
hmm This is the one I'm using right now since it's my the only one that has a webcam right now. This one has the
Yeah,
2
that's right.
gigabytes of RAM.
You might have to get a webcam.
hmm Yeah.
So, but it is what it is. Good to see that you got that.
hmm
Because yeah, there are some webcams that are relatively but that's neither here nor there.
hmm
So, but yeah, it's like even though we have stuff to kind of mitigate some of the caveats when it comes to digital streaming or digital preservation, it can't fix everything. Especially just like with everything else, it can eventually wear out. And granted, physical media also has a risk of wearing out. Like I think we're getting to the point where a lot of kind of save batteries as well as kind of internal under the hood stuff is kind of wearing out on those very old games. So even if you find it something that looks decent on the outside, it may be absolutely crapoli on the inside, unfortunately. So it seems like not even like the old school physical media is safe. And I remember, like, I think the film industry for a while had kind of an issue preserving their media too, because they used to like store their their film negatives in like a very, very flammable solution. And there was like a string of fires that wiped out most of the stuff in the silent film era. So I'm almost kind of worried if basically gaming in general is kind of at risk for something like that in terms of preservation, because it almost kind of feels like sooner rather than later a lot of games are going to become lost media, or even like the preferred way to play certain games is going to become lost to time, because as technology moves forward and as certain companies want to squeeze as much money out of their audience as possible, it's going to be very hard for kind of a lot of the stuff that we've taken for granted to serve as kind of a basis for basic game enjoyment to kind of operate as it always has been. And you kind of have to wonder what kind of steps that need to be taken, or what kind of crap needs to hit the fan in order to get a lot of these companies, big or small, to kind of wake up, smell the coffee, and kind of see that they are kind of sitting on a pretty clear case of a ticking time bomb, be it physical or digital. And I think digital is kind of escalating a lot quicker, just because we're kind of noticing a lot of the problems, coming in one after the other. But even physical isn't safe. And, for the past 20 to 30 years, we always kind of thought it was, which is why, for the longest time, we kind of try to push companies to maintain physical media the best they can. I almost kind of wonder if, somewhere down the line, even that's not going to be, even that's not going to be safe.
Oh,
any thoughts that you want to add?
I was gonna say too, with I guess in terms of with digital media as well. What was I gonna say with I guess so earlier when you were mentioning also about like in terms of like in the past where like the with the film industry and some of it like actually was lost for all of time. That could
a
easily
lot of the silent film stuff.
Yep, that could easily happen now if you think about it. If like on those days where, like the PlayStation Network like went down, and also like the Xbox Store, that can easily wipe
Happen to
out
any of them.
all of those games. Yeah, that could like
Actually,
wipe out.
I think there was a time during like the holiday season where Steam got screwed up really bad.
Oh, PlayStation too.
Yeah.
PlayStation at the I think it was like
yeah, PlayStation and
was
Xbox.
it the launch?
Yeah, it was like both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One launched. The stores got screwed up.
Yeah, and it's like if you can't access any of your digital games, also in a sense too, that's also a big cost that you can't access. Because like for example, like if you bought Game Pass for $140 and you can't access any of the games on there, or similar like when you bought the games yesterday, and if there was ever a problem with the digital storefront in terms of whatever's hosting those, and you can't get your previous purchases back,
or even just your system.
Right. Oh, right, because since all systems now are tied to either an account name or an email address.
or just
Um,
basic wear and tear,
yeah.
because they're still, physical pieces of technology.
Mhm.
Eventually, stuff wears out. And of course, as once the new generation comes in, it gets harder to find them in stores. You have to go to a resale market. You gotta work that out. You find one that's decently priced, but also something that works properly.
Mhm.
I mean, heck, it's hard enough to get current consoles. You're
Right.
lucky if you manage to find a Switch, PlayStation 5, or Xbox Series X or S at any
Mhm.
point in time.
Oh,
Because
especially
if
the
you, because
Switch
because because
OLED.
I was actually lucky to find the Switch OLED
You did?
that I currently have. Yeah, and that
Which
was because
store
I
had it there?
I was able to find it in GameStop of all places, and then later on I
Wow.
found one in Target that had like 3 of them, which is like
Mhm.
I can't believe that I'm seeing Switch
Right.
OLEDs that aren't off the shelves. What
Mhm.
sorcery is this? But
Excellent.
yeah, it's like you can't even rely on getting current gen hardware. Imagine trying to get working previous gen hardware.
Mhm.
And that again, that's kind of and that's kind of why a lot of people have turned to emulators. And even then, it's like you'd be lucky if you because the emulator itself is legal,
Mhm. Right.
especially because companies like to use them. Hope no one notices.
Mhm.
But it's the ROMs that are more than often than not illegal, and those are the
Right.
sites that are easily getting taken down. So it's like, yeah, it's like even that's a hard option to kind of rely on. And you also got to make sure that you don't end up triggering a minefield of like various viruses and malware. And that's
Mm.
even if you have proper protections and stuff.
Right. Oh, that actually brings up a good point too in terms um of digital licenses too. Because like so let's just say you buy like the digital copy of a game. I remember in the past if you bought the physical copy, you actually have like the license to
To
download
have it,
ROMs
yeah.
of that one. Is it the same with digital by having like technically have bought that license?
Well, no, no, no. Here's how it kind of works. Yeah, you can technically copy it for personal use if you're able to do so.
Mhm.
But in a lot of cases, for like the average person, they aren't able to do so.
Mm.
Because there's a lot of technical shenanigans involved with it. But yeah, like digital wise, more than often than not, it's generally illegal to copy it even for archival purposes or to
Mhm.
copy it strictly for personal enjoyment purposes. The only reason why a lot of people get away with it, including even to the point where they can openly stream and play it on their channels, is that it's one of those cases where so many people are doing it, and a lot of times they're often doing it with games that aren't readily accessible anymore. That provided that you're not, sharing it with other people, which is the case of the ROM providers, um, companies don't typically go after it, because then they would have to go after everyone, and you can't
Mhm.
really have enough. No matter how much money you make, it's way too costly to to to, to send like millions of people to
Right.
court. So the best thing that they could hope for is if they catch a ROM provider, they take that down. So that way, that takes an option, a reliable option away for people that download ROMs.
It's much easier to go after like a Doug Bowser. You know, oh,
Yeah.
it's a Doug Bowser, the guy who
Well,
got
no, no. Doug Bowser is the new head of Nintendo of America. Uh, Funny enough, there was someone with the last name of Bowser that did recently, receive legal trouble But I think that person was providing it, and I don't think it was any relation to Doug Bowser.
Oh, right.
um,
But he just went to jail though.
yeah,
Uh,
and it is kind of frustrating that a lot of companies, they'd rather spend time, you know, kind of, dealing with, lawsuits and litigation, more so sending them out to people than like making it easier for people that want to legally and legitimately support. It's like with all that time you spend, going after people in organizations that are providing products kind of under your nose, could have just been a better service and made those irrelevant.
mhm.
It's like, it's like, given that I don't work at the companies in question, I can't say whether or not. Ooh, sorry.
Oh, no
Whether or
problem.
not it's easier, but I will say that you would think it would make more sense, especially business-wise. Because, like, I feel like
What?
you would have gotten a better return out of it
Mhm.
than having to pay a legal team. In hopes that the court rules in your favor, and then once they rule in your favor, if they rule in your favor, then able to actually get the payout.
Mhm.
Because more often than not, when they send a lawsuit out, it's kind of up in the air whether or not the defendant in question can actually pay the lawsuit. Are you still with me, Phil?
Oh yeah, sorry. It's still kind of going in and out, so I'm picking up parts of it there.
Okay.
But I was gonna say too with the and so I think his verdict was it 2 point something million or 4 point something million? But
I thought it was only 6 figures, but then again,
no, it was they raised it.
oh, they recently raised it. Oh,
Yeah, at least I believe so because it was partially because he wasn't paying like the minimum that they gave him. So they said like yeah, like they said like you only have to pay like X amount of dollars, and he wasn't paying that.
so they basically raised it up as additional punishment.
I feel like I think they either raised it or I thought I saw 2.4 million. Um, I think I saw something, unless that article could have also been wrong too. But I know it said that they also like sent them like to actually the prison for that part. But like you said, if they would have
Well, yeah,
provided like
it has to be something more than just simply using it.
right,
Because if that was the case, then anyone could, like any content creator, could easily get sent to jail just for downloading ROMs and using them on an emulator, which it's like,
oh, so his was a lot worse though because not only did he host the site, but he from what I've heard, I think he had like premium subscriptions or something that he was charging more for. So like you would have to pay 20
oh, so
bucks.
not only
Yeah.
was he hosting, he was actually charging people for it.
From what I've heard. Now I think yeah, I believe he was the one that did that.
Yeah,
'Cause,
he
mhm,
that person poked the bear. That
mhm,
person poked the bear.
yeah, because
It's
it was
it's like,
modeling Nintendo subscription service.
oh yeah, that'll get him.
hmm Plus, he
He
also
basically put a
wait,
target on his back by doing
mhm.
that.
Yeah. Plus, he also had the I think ads and stuff too. So it's like you're making money off the monetization of the website plus this additional thing. At least that's from what I've heard. It was like he had like another thing that was adding, like he was actually making money for, and that's how he made I think like 60,000 a month. Or it was like he was making like a lot per month from it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I have nothing more to say in regards to this.
Yeah,
It's
his wasn't
it's one thing
strictly
if you're it's
preservation.
one thing if you're using if it's one thing if you're resorting to using that sort of stuff for personal use. It's
Mhm.
another thing that you're trying to kind of. It's another thing if you got caught sharing that stuff, and then it's
Mhm.
another thing entirely if you're trying to make money.
Right.
Because the biggest reason why is because a lot of the people that make like ROM hacks and stuff and kind of derivative works based off of past games, is because they don't make money off.
Right.
Once you start making money off of it, that's where the legal.
Mhm.
And I think that person thought that he could easily get away with it. He didn't.
Right.
Didn't get away with it.
Uh-huh. And
But
especially because I think he almost made like a day job, or like where he was like, making enough per month that was like a revenue source. Um, but I think what really made Nintendo go after him as much, because originally they said like, okay, if you can't pay us like this absorbent amount of fee that we had, it's I think like I said, start off as like just a six-figure thing, but then they said, okay, just pay us back like it was something really low, like 500 a month, and he was like, no, I don't want to pay that back. I was like, why don't you just pay that amount?
it's like they were letting you off easy.
Hmm.
Nope. Time to play hardball.
Hmm. It's like you don't want to mess with Nintendo lawyers, so of all the companies.
I mean, any corporate lawyer is kind of it is. That's why they usually try to kind of do what they call a slap suit. Basically,
Right. Oh yeah.
kind of force compliance.
Hmm.
And
And to scare people into following them too.
yeah, and it's like this is kind of why sometimes I do hesitate. Not so much, I'm trying to figure a best way that I could kind of describe this. Kind of not jump into kind of using emulators in addition to the kind of stuff that I already have. Because as much as I definitely would like to, it's just something that it's like I always kind of feel like if I like something enough, I want to support it, financially with money, and not just spending time on the product in general. And that's kind of the thing that a lot of companies seem to keep forgetting is that if you piracy, be a better service.
Exactly.
That's the thing. You gotta be a better service, and I feel like, especially now more than ever, with everything going digital, it's like they need more of that reminder. And you would think that, with kind of the big public outcry that some of these decisions have, especially with the recent Nintendo one, you'd think that they would either backpedal or try to work on a solution. But no, so far all they've done is they've taken away a kind of a rather infamous part of their Q&A that not only kind of describes kind of the service kind of ending, but also showing that, oh, by the way, we have no plans of providing certain titles that are going to be gone once the service concludes. It's like they just basically. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to yawn. But it's like they basically are hoping that they're just basically hoping that at a given time people are going to be okay with it. It's like, no. You didn't give us an option that will be a replacement. Well, suitable replacement, because I mean, technically, ports and collections, as well as kind of the Nintendo Switch Online services. Replacement, but it's not exactly the most effective replacement we got.
Right. And did you hear? Because they also mentioned in the press release that they said, "Oh, we don't have a way, like another storefront, any other way to view the other games, but we do have 130 current titles on our Nintendo."
Yeah, they tried to deflect it.
Uh-huh.
Tried to deflect it. And
It's like, well,
no.
wait, we don't only want those 100 games because,
a lot of those games that have been made available were the games that have always been available.
Right.
They've always been available.
Mhm.
NES, a lot of the NES, Super Nintendo, and 64, and Sega Genesis. It's weird that they added Sega Genesis to NSO when there's already like quite a number of Sega Genesis collections out there.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's the occasional hidden gem that is on there, but at the same time, it's like who you're fooling. Seriously, who are you fooling?
Right. And
And the
they
same,
don't
and the
even.
same thing, when Sony backpedaled into,
Mhm.
only getting rid of the PSP store, keeping the PS3 and PS Vita. It's like, oh, we're listening, and it's like you only listened because enough people complained.
Right.
That's basically it. You only listened because enough people complained, and sometimes that doesn't even work.
And they didn't. I guess what's like you mentioned was weird too is that they're going from they're putting the Sega Genesis part in place before they've really filled out their Nintendo platform with a lot of the games that people really want to see also.
Like I
But
understand a lot of the third party ones, they're
Mhm,
kind of leaving it up to the developer in question to provide them.
mhm,
So basically, kind of like, Capcom with the Mega Man and Street Fighter collections, Konami with the Castlevania collections, stuff like that. Which I
mhm,
totally get, it helps save licensing costs. So
mhm,
kind of stick to the more exclusive stuff. But even then, they've been really dragging their feet. Like, it took until most recent Nintendo Direct, which was last week,
mhm.
for them to announce the first two Earthbound games coming
Right.
to the Nintendo Switch. There was no need to take that long.
Uh-huh.
I sorry. It's like the drip fed is even worse because it's like we are waiting months for one Nintendo 64 title.
Right.
Maybe
And
a small
what?
handful of Sega Genesis titles, but nowadays it's like one Nintendo 64 title. I don't even think we're getting a whole lot of NES or SNES titles anymore.
Mm-mm.
And it's like, I hope you have something planned for the Game Boy line. Where's Game
If
Boy?
they do the Game Boy line.
Yeah, it's like you have a Nintendo Switch Online app for smartphones that that only has like companion apps for 3 games. You could have easily added Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and maybe
Yeah.
even have like a cross save option between smartphone and the Switch.
Hmm.
You could have easily done that versus Sega Genesis,
Yeah.
which already had collections on it.
Hmm.
You know,
Not only collections, but they actually sold them for the Nintendo Switch already. Like you can get Sonic like
yeah,
on the Switch. They had the
yeah,
Nintendo collection. Uh
yeah,
huh.
exactly.
And you could get that for $30 at the most compared to buying this online service. Like
Yeah.
what I thought they were going now, one thing I will give them credit for though is that they do have a lot of options to play some of the older games in multiplayer. And I do like that type of digital enhancement where they're actually saying, "Oh, you guys like Mario Kart the original? We'll give it
You can play online.
multiplayer
Yeah,
support."
I appreciate that too.
Mhm,
But it feels like it's like a half step forward,
mhm,
a full step back,
mhm,
and sometimes the disparity is even more skewed
mhm,
going back. And before we can actually go properly forward.
mhm.
And it is frustrating that we're after we've kind for the longest time gotten used to things being kind of laid out a certain way, for that to all of a sudden not be there and not really given much of an alternative in regards to certain titles or certain platforms, it's just that even goes to the fact that if you haven't gotten DLC for specifically new or 3DS titles, you're pretty much at a time limit. Otherwise, you could have the game, but you can never get the DLC.
Right.
And I think a lot of what people mention is the most egregious is Fire Emblem Fates, because Revelations is DLC only,
Mhm.
unless if you get both uh both physical copies of Birthright and Conquest or the special edition. That's DLC.
Oh no, even if you have both, it's still a whole separate DLC
Yeah.
because it only comes in the special edition,
Yeah.
and
Which I
that
was
one,
lucky enough to get.
yeah, my sister got it. It's actually still sealed, uh, but yeah, that one is such a rare copy now, especially going forward with the Revelations DLC pack.
I know,
Go,
yeah.
go.
Pretty soon, an entire DLC part of the story is just not going to be accessible.
Hmm. And isn't there like another DLC to it also? I thought that was like Revelations and even
It's
something
it's
else.
basically like season pass stuff, which
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of those are going to be input. But yeah, and again, I know a lot of the ragging has been on Nintendo specifically. But that's because Nintendo is the most recent case.
Hmm.
This could easily happen anywhere. Like, games could be taken off of Steam, they could be taken off of App Store. The Xbox Game Pass,
Yeah.
come and
Oh,
go as they please.
Xbox does that to a alarming rate. And like as someone that like uses Game Pass a lot there, because what they do is every month they'll like add like 6 games, but then they'll take off 6 other games,
Yeah,
and
it's
so
like
it's
at
like a
any
moving
point,
scale.
yeah, but at any point, a company can be the best example to preserve older games, and then suddenly, at a snap of a finger, they become the worst example.
Yep.
It's just like an uneven curve. It's like it's almost like a gaming preservation stock market.
Mm. And like it almost is like when you mentioned the snap too, I just thought of like Thanos because that kind of ends up being what it's
Yeah, I
like.
know.
Like,
I'm gonna erase half of gaming from existence.
oh, oh,
I am
Denver's
not
like,
looking. I'm not
no.
looking forward when companies are going to be implementing freaking
Mhm.
blockchain to everything. I only feel that's gonna be worse. It's gonna be a lot worse.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like,
they made it kind of in the sense that they actually locked some stuff behind like the NFT wall. Have you heard of like no this is really early
I
on.
know I've been hearing
But-
about it and I hate it.
Mhm.
I hate it a lot.
Yeah.
I want NFTs to go away, and they're not going away.
Mhm.
In fact, I actually kind of just want a lot of things regarding crypto to just vanish.
Mhm.
It's
I mean,
like it's
eventually
taking
it
stuff that
will.
was it's taking a lot of stuff that is already kind of crummy,
Mhm.
anything from copyrights and trademarks to stocks, and just making it a whole lot uncertain and worse. It's
Mhm.
just easy to get screwed over,
Mhm.
and it's just like
And not
I
just
just
taking.
groan
Yeah.
every time I see something regarding it.
Mhm. Well, especially during the Super Bowl, did you see all those ads that they had for crypto?
Oh, I get like crypto ads when I'm trying to playing games on mobile, or I get crypto ads on like YouTube when I'm watching videos. It's like, stop! I don't
Mm.
want anything to do with this. Stop!
Mm. It's like I wish there was
Like,
like a button that you could click to say like no crypto ads. Like I'll take any other ads other than the crypto. There should be like a crypto filter.
Crypto is a scam.
Uh-huh.
It has always been a scam.
And not just that, but like at any day, any of these cryptocurrencies can actually just, you know,
Even more so than stocks, yeah.
Yep.
People can like invest like hundreds, thousands, and millions of dollars and just poof, gone.
Well, oh, I guess that also brings up games too, because with the crypto, I mean not crypto, but with the NFTs that are related to like video games, for example, as soon as that game ends, that crypto, I mean, like your cryptocurrency with that can just be gone. Because
I mean, that's already a problem with games in general.
Yeah.
Not just like, with like online services.
Mhm.
Like
sports
stuff, when
games
servers
especially.
Yeah, sports games get screwed. Actually anything that lives and dies by multiplayer Um, you know, content that relies on a digital storefront with digital currency, not just crypto, just like in-game currency that you have to pay
Yep.
real money for. That can just go at any moment. And I think that's kind of the thing, is that at least with physical media, it's like there's a steady, there's like a very slow snail like depreciation. But with digital stuff, it can be instant. It's
Mhm.
like you could spend all your time and money regarding something that you really enjoy, and then it's gone. It's gone, and it's like all that time and money you spent on it, you're not getting it back.
Right.
Or if you are getting it back, you have to pay again.
Uh-huh. Well, because like they do that oddly enough, they do that every single year with NBA games, where if you buy card packs in the game, well, some of them they make it less and less where you like can buy them directly, but in a way you can still like buy like a big group of packs. But they don't give any advance warning. You'll just turn on the game one day, and then you'll go like to log in online. It'll say, "Oh, the online service for this game has been shut down."
Yep.
Now, any digital purchase that you did for like the My Team mode or I forgot what they call it in FIFA, but I think it's also a My Team. But anything you bought in those modes is gone. You cannot access it. You had no warning for it. You could have spent, hundreds in that section, and it's just gone.
I would
I mean,
say I wouldn't bother, but then again, I just recently spending quite a bit of time on Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Luckily, haven't spent real money on it,
Mhm.
and hopefully, I don't get to the point where I do, because I
Mhm.
know that is a very real possibility of that happening as well, because a lot of it's
Well,
relied on online.
yes and no. See, that one that's actually a better investment. Only because with that game, it's brand new, but it doesn't have a yearly release. That's the
That is
problem with the
true.
NBA. Yeah, that's the
Which
thing
is
with the
great,
NBA
but
games.
it's still a very real concern. Maybe not
Mhm,
on a yearly basis, but who's to say 3, 5, 7, 10 years from now?
mhm,
People that really want to get certain cards and they spent money to get them quicker,
mhm,
guess what? You're not getting that money back, and those
mhm.
cards are gone forever.
Yeah. And I think the worst part is when it's not only the in-game item that's gone, like for example, like if you can still play the game with the cards that you have, but like with the sports games sometimes too, is they actually like will lock you out from it entirely. Like you can't
Yeah,
even see the stuff that you had, so you can't really. It's really a huge scam. And luckily, I've never like actually bought like those packs. I've only like bought like the game for like $1,
yeah. But yeah,
itself.
that's kind of the
But
thing, is that especially with companies entertaining the likes of using crypto and NFTs directly in games, that's just like it's not only gonna get worse, it's gonna get a lot more blatant and shameless. Like
oh,
it's like
mhm. I have some fun news about that too.
yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, with the sports games specifically, because like I've taken some like what's it called? It's like like the focus groups where they talk like what do you think about this game and that game? So I wasn't like accepted into this focus group, but I could kind of see where they were heading for. Like, what are your thoughts about NFTs? What do you think about NFTs in FIFA and in NBA and this? I was like, uh-oh.
you're in for a world of hurt by asking that
Mhm.
question.
Yeah, well,
And
that
that's the thing. They're like, for the most part,
they're
unless
doing it.
yeah,
They're
well,
going to
yeah,
do it. Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, that. But it's like
Mhm,
they are going to do it,
mhm,
despite the fact that pretty much nearly everyone hates it.
mhm,
Nearly everyone hates it. Like, yeah, we're seeing kind of a little bit of an uptick in terms of like celebrity influencer endorsements, but even then, it's like more often than not, people are sick of it. You'll see more people
right,
just absolutely beating the heck out of, the fact that of just how how worthless they are.
Mhm.
That's the thing. It's like we're turning into something that is worth some. We're turning into media and material that do have some form of value, and we're kind of putting it behind something that ultimately doesn't mean anything. And I think that kind of it's that kind of what makes going from physical to digital more concerning now more than ever is that we're taking stuff and investing stuff. We're taking stuff that was tangible and had some sort of value, and it's increasingly turning something that it's kind of hard to find the value in it. And it didn't have to be this way. It
Mhm.
could have, we could have, you know, a lot of stuff that, when initially put in paper, you know, people, it could honestly be something that could have been of great benefit and something to be excited for. But of course, all it takes is, an opportunistic, person or company, and suddenly it just all goes out the window because, you know, the creators, the guys that created NFTs did it with a lot of better intentions than the people that ended up using them.
Yep. Because it was supposed to originally be for art, like
Yeah,
artists to
it
retain the
basically
rights.
was a way to track ownership for a lot of digital artists, and it was supposed to be something that could have been of great benefit to a lot of independent artists, and now it's just it's a circus.
Mhm.
It's a circus that no one wants to go to, and people wish
Right.
it would end and to never come back. That's
Mhm.
basically what it's turned into.
Yeah.
It's like, how did you end up creating something that was infinitely worse than copyright and trademarking in record time?
Yeah.
That's basically how I can sum up in NFTs. How did we get here?
Mhm.
And I think that's basically sums up whenever I see things that test, you know, basically test the limits of the value that we put in to the services and the content that are being provided by these services. Is that whenever they are at risk of disappearing with no clear means of return or any sort of, alternate plan of, keeping them around, I always have to ask myself, how did we get here?
Yeah.
It's like, are we sure that there's literally no better way of going about this? Can we at least provide something that could potentially be better before getting rid of the old? And if it didn't turn out to be better, can we at least wait until we either fix it or, maybe have something else that can work even better? It just gets to the point where it's like I don't even know anymore.
Right. I think, and also I guess.
I try to still have fun with games. I really do. I try to
Mhm.
still have fun with everything, but now I just get sad and
You're not gonna
depressed.
buy the Atari limited edition NFTs for their anniversary,
No.
or the Atari, or the weren't they about to be like Sega was gonna do Sonic ones, but then there was such a backlash. They're like, maybe we won't do those.
Hopefully they won't.
Hmm.
I spit on NFTs. Spit.
So I think it was supposed to be in combination with their was it the release of the new Sonic? Sonic,
No, it
what's
was
the new
just gonna
Sonic
be like a
genre?
30th anniversary thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people were not happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, that could be said of any company.
Yep.
Konami's gotten flack, Square Enix has gotten flack, Ubisoft has gotten flack.
Mhm.
Even a few indies and smaller studios have gotten flack for trying to use NFTs. And it's just
Oh, I remember there was actually one indie studio that said like we're not going to do NFTs, and they had to make that clear because I think it was Ubisoft who was saying that they were going to do NFTs. So like the company underneath them said, "Oh, by the way, we're not going to do these."
yeah. It's like they
I
had to
forgot.
clarify. You know it.
Hmm.
You know it has to get rather rather BS when it's like the best news that you have is when a company declares that they aren't planning on doing the thing that
Hmm.
a lot of other companies or people are doing
Hmm.
that a lot more people don't like.
Right.
It's like, I like to announce that I am, in fact, against poisoning puppies and will not at any point in time poison puppies. It's like, hooray! I'm glad that this is the this is this is the
When the bar is
minimum.
so low.
The bar is so low that it's the achievement of just stepping over that bar. It's just like, oh.
Can you imagine if there was an Xbox achievement for that? It's like, I will not sell NFTs. You get some gamer score for that.
I'm pretty sure someone that will be pretty tongue-in-cheek about it. I know, it's like, but I mean, with all things said, I pretty much got nothing else to add here.
Oh,
How about you?
I have
Do you
one
have something?
last thing.
Do you-
Yes,
one last thing? One last thing?
one last thing about physical media that I actually miss, and that is the instruction manuals that used to be in each box.
Yep.
Hmm. Now maybe
Instruction manuals, that
Yeah.
written port at the end where you can write passcodes.
take notes. You could take notes and put in cheat codes in it.
And the outright character that they can put into some of those, especially like stuff like character descriptions or fighting games showing movesets and stuff. Yeah, I miss those.
Yeah, because now you
In
only
many
get those
cases,
in
you don't
limited
even get a
run.
digital instruction booklet. It's like
Yeah.
tutorial, or you gotta go into the menus just to see a standard button layout.
Mhm.
And sometimes not even customize the button layout. It's like, oh, here, button layout.
Mhm.
Just, yeah,
Because
cool.
fighting
I
games
guess.
is so hard nowadays because they don't include that.
Yeah, you gotta like pause like mid fight and then see all the combos and
Mhm.
stuff. It's just like, yay. I mean, yeah, there's training mode for that, but still.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
I know the good old days weren't always the best too, but it's like it's hard to find anything that's better about the modern day. See the kind of stuff that you've been seeing for the past few years, especially just the last couple of years alone.
right.
Video games are still fun. I swear, video games are still fun. I swear, watching TV and movies are still fun.
Mhm.
They leave me broken, still living with my family, but I swear I'm having fun.
And the fun is what matters there.
Yes, the fun is what matters.
Yeah, but yeah, that was just the last thing I wanted to bring up. There was just the one thing I missed. Is there, I guess, anything you missed from the physical actual media?
I mean, I guess, yeah, really, if there's anything less, it's just. I guess. I mean, I would say it. I do miss, just. It's kind of sad that it's like you miss only having to deal with the BS of having physical media, which is usually just, making sure you repair scratches, blow out the cartridges, carrying everything in its own separate case that acts like a folder, or just carrying a bunch of game cases at once. It's like, it's like, man, I was perfectly fine just having that to deal with and all the other stuff to deal with now, but it's like, hey, we just gotta make do with what we got now.
Mhm.
At least when I put that game in and play and everything seems to be in working order, I can still have a good time.
Mhm.
I just gotta ignore everything else.
Uh-huh.
It's sad that I have to summarize it like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, with all that said, I think we're gonna wrap it up for tonight. This is Matt, your local friendly gamer. This is also my best friend, Phil.
Like everyone.
Until next time, hopefully it won't take as long.
Uh-huh.
But until next time, I hope everyone has a wonderful evening